Hello knitting friends, this is Jacqueline from Jack Knits, and today we're going to talk about adding fringe to your garment. I have just finished a fisherman's rib scarf with this beautiful yarn, and I thought it would look really pretty to add some fringe to the edge of my scarf. So here's how we're going to do it. I've already started with a couple just to see how it would look, and I think this is a good length for some fringe. I'm going to trim it off when I'm done to about 4 inches. But you're going to want to make sure that your strands of fringe are a little bit longer than that so you have enough to trim them off. So this is how we're going to do this. We're going to collect at first a bunch of scraps of yarn, and you want to make sure that it's more than twice the length of your trim. And you can find an object around the house to make it easier for you to cut that trim. I have decided to use this knitting needle gauge to use to wrap my yarn around, but whatever you have around the house that is a good size you can use. So I'm going to take my knitting gauge here and just wrap yarn around here several times. We're going to need a bunch of yarn, so I'll just get some more so we got some more to continue our project here. Once I have several on my knitting gauge, I'm going to trim the edge and then take my scissors. You're going to want to make sure you have a nice sharp scissors for this and trim down that edge, making sure I got through them all. There we go. Now I've got some additional yarn scraps to use for my trim. I decided to make mine 6 yarn widths wide, so that means I'm going to need 3 of them for each of my fringe here, because they're going to double over like this. I find it best to use a crochet hook to add these to your scarf, so that's how I'm going to show you. You can use a fairly large crochet hook if you have one handy. Just helps you get the stitches through the needle. But if you don't have one of those, you can use your darning needle or your fingers as well. But this I think works best. So I'm going to want to add a fringe to the bottom of each of these ribbing rows. So I've done that already on the first 2, and now I'm going to take a look at this next rib and look at the edge of my scarf and pick up to one side or the other. I think I'm going to go to the right here and pick up these 2 stitches, or stick my needle through those 2 stitches at the base of my cast off edge here. And then I'm going to find the middle of my strands here and put them on my crochet hook so I can pull them through that stitch, and then give it a nice little pull so you've got a nice gap here, nice loop in at the end of your swatch here, and pull the rest of the yarn through that hole. Pull it all the way through, and we're just going to give it a nice pull so the knot is nice and snug to the edge of the scarf, and we got our next set of fringe. So let's do that one more time. Let's take another 3 strands here. 3 more strands. Let's find our next ribbing stitches coming down here. Let's turn it over and pull from this stitch. Put my crochet hook through those 2 stitches, find the middle of my 3 strands here and pull it through. Give it a little pull so we've got a nice hole here to pull the rest of the yarn through. I'm going to take all the rest of the strands and pull it through the hole and give it a nice tug up. Alright, so we will continue to do that all the way across, and then when we're done, we're going to take a ruler or a measuring device like this, and then you'll want to measure like 4 inches from the base of the knot or however long you want your fringe, and do a nice trim so your fringe is nice and even. So that is it. Pretty simple to add a fun finishing touch to your scarf. Well, I hope you found this helpful. If so, please don't forget to subscribe so you can receive notifications each week of new knitting videos all about knitting tips and techniques and new knitting stitches. Thanks for watching, everyone. Happy knitting.